Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to go through and place in order the Leviathan dreadnoughts, available from Forge World. One of my all-time favourite models that has just been made ever, full stop, flat out. I mean, I don't know what it is. They are just one of the nicest models that Forge World has ever made, and it's helped by the fact that, like, the standard one, the normal one, which was the first Leviathan I ever put together, was unbelievably smooth and easy. Sometimes you get a model and just, as you start just dry fitting it, just making sure this is going to be awful. This is going to be a pain. It's just nothing is going to go together right. It's going to require a hell of a lot of messing about and filing and cutting, and it's just going to be a faff. This was absolutely not one of those models. This was borderline miraculous in how smooth and clean this went together, and it quickly went from, I love this model, to I need to assemble one of each now. I have to. I enjoyed that so much. I actually need to assemble one of each of these things. And the thing is, there's a fair few. I mean, you've got the standard, you've got the White Scars dreadnought here. For some reason, the standard one has got the worst, rotation thing, and the rest are fine. But, again, I mean, I've only got a couple. I don't have all. I've got the Dark Angels Leviathan and Contemptor, because they both look amazing. And I've got the standard Leviathan and a couple of standard Contemptors. I've yet to grab the White Scars one, or the Night Lords one, or in fact the Blood Angels one, because there's so many. And since we're going to be putting these in a rough kind of order as to which one is the overall nicest, because that is not going to be at all what's the word, controversial or anything. We're also going to include old Culln the Risen here. Oh, that's janky. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit smoother, but not great. So, let's start out with what I feel is probably my least favourite of all of them, of the Leviathans. And I'm afraid it's this one. It's the Night Lords Leviathan. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a point to which it's a Leviathan, so it's not bad. It can't be bad. It's a Leviathan dreadnought, and therefore it innately has some part of it that looks absolutely great. But in terms of just all the Leviathans available, just as a whole, the Night Lords one doesn't quite do it for me. And I think it's partially because I kind of want to see it more Night Lords than it actually is. Things like the little chains that are attached to it are fine, and, nice bit of detail, but I feel like there should be a bit more, and they should be a bit chunkier. There should be a few more almost like Chaos-style flesh hooks hanging off it, which, for the Night Lords is not unreasonable. They stretch flayed skin over their armour. It's not like having a couple of extra chains to dangle bits of pieces off, like bits of people off, would look out of place for them. In a way, it looks almost a bit underserved, and there's little things on it where the more I've looked at it, the more I've come to dislike over time, like the body attached to the front. I seem to remember quite liking that when I first saw it, but the scale feels weird now. It just feels a little bit off, the size of it, and whilst it looks okay, I can't help but feel that it's a bit at odds with everything else, in a way. You've got a couple of skulls on the front there, which is great. You've got a hand hanging off one of the legs. You've got a collection of bones that have been put on one fist, and you've got some on the shoulder as well. And that's all well and good. The spikes that go over the carapace, I actually really like. But it's like, there's bits of people here and there, and then there's just a full torso. But there's nothing in the way of, there's no skin, there's no stretched anything. It kind of feels a little bit here and there. Like, the little rectangles that go over one of the legs, they just sort of look kind of like armour bits that have just been randomly riveted on, which I've never quite understood. I mean, if it's flesh, that, like skin, then okay. but it's not represented as that on this particular model, and it's a bit difficult to tell exactly what it is. And overall, like, the details are nice, but some of them could be quite a bit better, and there's just that weird inconsistency of, oh, here's some bones, here's some skulls, here's a torso, and then there's very little middle ground, and it's still a Leviathan, so it still looks good, but compared to all the others, I just don't think it's got quite the same oomph, the same kind of impact as some of the others have. In a kind of similar way, but not nearly as bad, the Blood Angels Leviathan. Now, I do like the Blood Angels Leviathan. There's some nice stuff about this. The trim I like quite a bit. I like the decoration that goes over one of the shin pieces of armour. I like the weird skull, almost octopus-looking thing on the crotch there. That's fine. Overall, it's quite nice. But for some reason, the helmet absolutely doesn't do it for me, to the extent that it kind of spoils the main... It kind of spoils the middle of it for me. I like all the bits around it, but it all draws you in. It all kind of draws your centre of attention to the chest and the head, which is fine. Except on this one, I just don't get on with the head at all. It looks clunky and weird, and the kind of angle of the grills on the helmet don't really line up with anything, which looks a bit weird, and when it's kind of off to the side there, you sort of lose a bit of the detail on the left side of the head. It also makes the eye lenses look a bit strange. Now, they are the same as all the others, I think, by the look of things. It's pretty much the same eye lens design, but they look weirdly lacking, and I think it's because of that massive like extension on the underside of the like the front of the helmet. It just takes something away from it a little bit, and it's kind of hard to tell exactly what, but it just doesn't quite sit right with me, which is a shame, because that's one of those things where that is a very small detail, where otherwise I like everything else. I really like the extra kind of the armour decoration that goes around the carapace. I really like the extra stuff that are on the top of the legs. I like the decoration on the shin and on the knee. Although that knee may be either a skull or the teardrops, both, the blood drops, sorry, both, maybe a bit much, maybe a little bit much, but still, it's decent. It's just that one bit that I just can't get on with. Although the assault cannon sticking out the front, I just really like that. Now, it gets a bit tricky here, because I have bias here. I have bias because I have the Dark Angels Leviathan, which I love, and I have the normal one, which I love. And I have to say that, much though I love the normal one, I think the normal one is going to have to kind of stick tied middle of the pack, so to speak. Tied kind of, well, not tied. It's just, it's great. It's nice. It's a really nice model. It's really fun to put together. Super easy to make look really, really good. And of course, it's the original, and that counts for a lot. But in terms of just how much extra has been done with them, he's in danger of looking a bit plain here and there. He's in danger of just looking a little bit, just not quite as ornate. Although, as a blank canvas, you can't beat it at all. So he kind of goes next to, for me, the White Scars Leviathan. Like, the standard and the White Scars, I both really, really like, but there are two that just do it that little bit extra for me. The standard, as I say, is a great canvas. You can do so much with it. There's so many, like, flat kind of just spaces to expand upon. You can make one of these look as though it comes from any single legion without actually really relying on the paint job all that much. There's so much space for you to use iconography, for you to decorate it, for you to properly make it your own. In terms of just something you can take to make yours, you can't beat it. But it is a little bit overshadowed by some of the more recent ones. The White Scars one is, I think I think, quite a bit nicer than Night Lords and Blood Angels for me personally. And I think a lot of that is because it's not particularly overdone. And even though White Scars and Dreadnoughts is a bit of a weird point, it doesn't have the kind of over-designed feel that the Contemptor has for the White Scars. It feels pretty true, and there's some nice touches, like the fact that you do have the like the rope and the talismans. You've got the icon on the front of the carapace there. I like the helmet on this one as well. It fits in nicely with the White Scars. Is there Mark III heads or Mark IV heads? Mark III heads. It fits in with those really nicely, but still fits nicely with the actual Leviathan itself, which is where I feel the Blood Angels one goes wrong, where it just doesn't seem to fit well for me. It's the perfect balance of all the right bits being left standard and all of the right bits being changed. You've got that nice bit of decoration. You've got that kind of extra personalisation on the kind of the middle bit of the armour. But it's not overdone. It's not crazy. It's not excessive. For me, it's just right. It's just right. It feels like you can do a fair bit with it because it occupies that nice middle ground whereby, of course, it's more ornamented than the standard, but it's just done in that way that's just, for me, a little bit better than the Blood Angels one, and the Blood Angels one is just a bit better than the Night Lords one. In a weird kind of right near the top, like solid second place, is the honourable mention of this lad here. And again, there's just parts of this that I really, really enjoy. There's just parts of this that work really well. I like the non-standard claw that this one's got. I actually really like the design of the non-standard claw. I'm planning on picking old Culln the Risen up next time at Warhammer World. And a lot of it is to do with the fact that, yes, you have got the stuff, like the Scorpion iconography on there, but a lot of it feels pretty applicable to other chapters, like the fact that you have that personalised claw, the one that just looks a bit more like a fist and isn't quite as, Mr. Snippy. The extra kind of raised bits of the armour on the edge of the carapace, I think works really well. It looks really cool. I always feel like as well the top bits there would work really well for a Carcharodon Astra Leviathan if you wanted to. If you're prepared to do a bit of work, getting rid of the Scorpion iconography, this actually would be quite a decent basis for a Carcharodon Astra Leviathan, because you've got those raised bit of like the metal kind of armour plates extending out of the carapace, which sort of look a bit fin-like from the right angle, which probably wasn't their intention, but hey. The decoration sort of around the midriff area, again, I quite like, and it's nothing that screams any particular chapter. I mean, there's just like some Crux Terminata stuff going on there, which is fine. That can be applied to pretty much anything. You've got the wing on the shin plate there, which again, it has the Scorpion logo, but that doesn't really matter. The wing itself is solid. The wing itself is actually quite a cool kind of angular design, angular take on that sort of iconography, which I really like. The helmet, again, is nice and simple. It's just a standard Leviathan helmet with a wreath on it. There's a lot you can do with this one, is the thing. And although, yes, there are, unique war gear options on here in the form of the claw and the twin assault cannon, which still looks great, I'd be super tempted to just run it as the thingy battery. I've totally forgotten the name of it. But you could get away with running it as something else, I feel like. If you do a little bit of work and you're careful with a bit of filing, you can turn this into a significant kind of centerpiece Leviathan for pretty much any force, especially, loyalist or traitor, to be honest. There's a lot you can do with it, but there's a lot that already looks decent, and there's little changes to the accepted war gear that just give it something interesting. So yeah, I really like this. I'm genuinely tempted, because the Dreadnought project has pretty much come to an end now. I've got two to paint, but I'm moving my efforts onto my Emperor's Children. Very tempted to grab this and do chaosy things to it for the Emperor's Children army, just because I like the base model so much. It's got some nice kind of expansions on what the standard Leviathan offers, and you could still do quite a lot. I have to say though, my favourite one is the Dark Angels Leviathan. There's just something about it. The extra armor plating on the carapace, like the edges that have been done, it just looks. I mean, it looks Dark Angels, yeah, but it just adds presence, and it seems to build it out and make it look like more reinforced, more heavily armored. It's the same thing with the on the shins as well. Like, there's just the added kind of work on the edge, on like the edges of this version, do so much to give it a surprising amount of character. Because the thing is, it's not a massive change. It's just a bit of decoration on the edges, but the thing is, it's done with such consistency, and it's kind of subtle but noticeable at the same time. This is one of those models where I already have one. I've turned it into the chapter master for my dreadnought army, Leviathan chapter master, because why not? And having assembled it and painted it, I mean, I'm going to end up getting another one. I'm probably going to end up getting another Dark Angels Contemptor to put together and paint in a different way, because it just has something. It looks kind of gothic and like almost medieval to some extent, and it's obviously perfectly suited to the Dark Angels, but again, the iconography is not over the top. The main changes, the bits that really stand out, are those changes to the edges of the armour. It is that reinforcement, it is that extra detail. But the actual, like, Legion decorations on here are not difficult to remove if you want to. As I was putting it together, I was looking at it and going, you know what, if I wanted to remove the angel, or just have the sword without the wings and get rid of the sword or the wings on the midriff, I could easily do that. It would not take any effort at all. It's the same thing with the lion on the knee pad. They're all like great identifiers as to what this dreadnought is, but you can totally remove them with little to no effort, leaving it again as one of those things whereby those work and those are good, but you can do a lot with it. You can do a huge amount with it. And without those on there, you could easily add stuff to just make it your own. Again, it's kind of got a similar feel in a way to the standard one. I mean, obviously not quite to the same extent. The standard one is going to be more customizable because you don't have those edges, but you can still do a hell of a lot with it. It's just it just looks really, really good to me. And having put the basic one together and this one together, it has that extra that just makes it look so much more kind of chunky, without actually taking away anything from the original design at all. It's not too over the top. It's not too ridiculous. It just suits perfectly and just adds and doesn't take away. So yeah, for me, I'm afraid Night Lords at the bottom, then Blood Angels, and then we get to a decent tie between the White Scars and the original basic Leviathan. Then old Culln comes pretty high up the list just because of it being a really good version of that model. But the absolute favourite for me is definitely the Dark Angels Leviathan, definitely, by quite some distance as well. It's just a great model. They all are good, but I'm afraid that one I think is going to forever be my favourite. Let me know which one of the Leviathans is your particular favourite in the comments down below. If you would like to explain why, then do. And if there's something perhaps that you think I've missed, or an appreciation for a detail that I'm not a fan of, but might kind of like point something out that makes me look at it in a fresh light, then of course share that in the comments as well. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like. Don't click it if you don't want to. And of course, there is an affiliate link for Element Games in the description where you can buy stuff to support the channel. I get something sent you that way. They stock all the things in the world and then some. And it's way cheaper than buying from Games Workshop. And you're going to do it anyway. So you can do that if you would like. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you for the next one.